You know, our dieting fasts have an impact on us, even as we proceed with a non-dieting approach, even as you launch into Thin Within, or even when you've been involved in Thin Within or a non-dieting approach for a number of years. You can still be affected without even realizing it by truths that you subscribe to, some of which aren't even truths, from your dieting history. One of the ways that I have found this affects people a lot is what we view as a successful day or a successful week. What I want to encourage you to do is take a moment captive. Consider the moment a precious treasure. Can you take this moment captive for victory for the Lord? You just did. It wasn't that easy? Okay, now what about this moment? You just did. There you go. You're already on your way. When we string together enough moments of success, moments of taking captive, our thoughts for the Lord, our eating for the Lord, etc., we string together an hour. And when we do that enough times, we do string together a day, a full week of success. The problem comes when we look at one moment of indiscretion and think it wipes out all the moments that we did positive things, that we took victoriously for Christ, but that came before. And that too is from our dieting pasts. When we think that one indiscretion, eating outside of our boundaries of 0 to 5, wipes out the value of the victories that have come before, we're going back to our dieting pasts. Meaning, in the past, I would have eaten 1,000 calories by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I was hungry even. I could have even been hungry, but I had a hot fudge sundae, and because of the caloric value of that hot fudge sundae, I had blown the diet completely. And it wiped out, it made me think that the day was a failure, because technically the day was a failure. Well, here's the thing. We are working on so much more than our behavior towards food. We're working on our thoughts towards food, our value systems. We're working on how we think and what our hearts long for. So, I want us to get into the habit of thinking of the moment as a victorious moment for Christ, or a moment of indiscretion, a moment where we made a choice that wasn't congruous with our godly eating goals. And this is one of the ways, one of the illustrations that I have used over the years to help people see what I'm talking about, and to do it for myself as well. I used to be a classroom teacher, and one of the things I learned during my teacher training days was the value of a jar and marbles, especially with little kids. In the classrooms, like kindergarten classrooms, first grade, second grade, maybe even third grade, you could get away with this back then. I don't know if you could now. This was the precious marble jar. And the idea that we had as teachers was, if we could catch the kids being good, if we could catch them making choices that were according to the goals of our classroom, according to what we required of them, we would then, in that moment, say, awesome, you are doing exactly what I long for you to do. And we would recognize that with a marble in the marble jar. The goal was for the marble jar to fill up with marbles, and once it was full, we would then celebrate with an awesome class party or an awesome field trip of some sort. And so it was a positive reinforcing way of showing the kids, this is what I'm looking for, this is how we're going to celebrate, and this is what's going to happen in the long haul when we have enough of those moments put together where you've made choices that have honored what we've been expecting in the classroom. What I found, certainly in using this strategy, was that when the kids were writing or reading quietly, whatever it was I was asking of them, I would go amongst the kids in the classroom and drop a marble. And that lovely sound would cause the kids to kind of, they would get so excited. This moment had been recognized as being a precious moment where they were victorious, where they had succeeded. A few moments later, I would be walking amongst them and notice they're still at it. And they would be so thrilled, just even in that moment, that the marble itself was almost like a mini reward. And over time, of course, the marble jar would fill up, and we would ultimately get to enjoy that party. Well, I think that capturing moments for Christ is similar to the way those students would respond to me in the classroom. I believe that our God recognizes each moment that we capture for Him. He recognizes that that is something precious, and it doesn't go without notice. He notices it. Now here's the thing. In the classroom, after, let's say, the marble jar was filled halfway up, and let's say the kids got squirmy, it'd be a rainy day, and they were having trouble sitting still or focusing on the task I'd given them to do. I would never, and no teacher that I knew of who used this approach would ever reach into the marble jar and take out handfuls of marbles and say, forget it. Those moments don't count because of what you're doing right now. That's not the way this operated, and I don't believe that's the way our God operates either. I believe He recognizes the moments of victory that we offer Him for the Lord, and I believe He loves recognizing those moments. When we have a moment that we don't capture for Christ, that we step outside of our godly boundaries, I don't believe that He says, forget it. All those moments that came before are worthless. No. Instead, it matters. Every moment matters. So very often, we have this tendency to minimize the moments that we make good choices. Like, how many times have you waited for a zero? How many times have you stopped before you were too full? How many times have you made a choice to not go for seconds? You've probably done that a lot lately. And are you giving yourself credit? Are you celebrating those moments the way I think our God does? Or are you busy looking at, oh, I can't believe it. I went past 5, I blew right past, and then I had a bowl of ice cream after that, and then I this, and then I that. Are you maximizing the strength of those moments, those rarer moments, really, of indiscretion? Because see, what we do is we think it's still math, like it was back in our dieting days. Even if we ate 1,000 calories the way we should have, back in those days, and then we had 800 calories beyond our calorie allotment for the day, or 10 points or 2 points beyond our point allotment for the day, we felt that the math threw everything out. It was more than we were supposed to, and it was greater than, and it meant that the day was shot. We don't do math that way now. In our 0 to 5 eating program and our Thin Within eating, God values what's happening in your heart so much. It's way beyond whether or not you ate between 0 and 5. Yes, He values that. If you believe that God has led you to a 0 to 5 eating boundary, He values that. That's important to Him. But it's not so important that He's saying, forget it, the math doesn't work. You have gone outside of 5 so often that all of the rest of the 0 to 5 eating that you've done is insignificant and it doesn't matter. That's not our God. In fact, He's delighted that you're training your heart, that you're training your mind, and you're training your body to be willing to have less food, to think of food differently, to be willing not to covet food. He's delighted that you're doing so much work, and He's recognizing each one of those moments. You've already sat through this video for 9 minutes. That's 9 minutes worth of moments that I'm assuming you're not chowing down outside of 0 to 5. And if you are, stop it. Anyway, I want you to encourage you to recognize the value of the moment. No, this isn't going to be perfection. This is learning to do the struggle well the rest of your life. This is sanctification. It's bit by bit by bit, baby step by baby step by baby step. And if you have a moment of indiscretion, even if you feel like you ate tons and tons of food during that time, it does not negate or wipe out the many moments that you chose obedience, the number of times that you ignored the refrigerator that was calling your name, or the times, it doesn't negate the times that you wrapped up whatever it was and put it away, even though you would have liked to have kept eating. It doesn't minimize the way you've gone to God's Word and you've gone to prayer, the numbers of times you've renewed your mind. No, one choice, no matter how much damage you think is done, that damage is limited. Our God has empowered you. He's given you the strength and the ability. He's given you a spirit of power and of self-discipline to be able to take so many moments captive. And I believe Christ-like character that we want to have in our lives would give credit where credit is due. It's credit to God, and I've participated with Him. There have been a lot of moments where I've exalted and honored God and worshiped Him, glorified Him with my eating and drinking and with my abstaining. And I am not going to let one moment or one evening or even 1 week of poor choices get me to believe that the rest of the time that I made choices to honor my God don't matter. They do. Those moments matter. Every moment matters. Let's start recognizing the value of the moment. Shall we?